live shows every Tuesday, facebook.com/worshipteamtraining. Like the page as well so you can get updates about what we do for training, tips, more content, plus joining our wttu-co membership site for worship leaders and worship teams. I'm telling you, if you want to bring your team up to the next level, join wttu.co today. We can help you get there. Look, we love you guys coming in every week, and we want to offer more and more content to you. There's millions of things that you can get on our sites, from worshipteamtraining.com to all of our socials, and again to our membership page. So thank you so much again for subscribing to this podcast, your support, and your attention. We love you.
This is the Worship Team Training Podcast with your host and training director, Brandon Dempsey. Worship Team Training provides live workshops and online resources to help inspire, create, and transform the leading of worship. Now, here's your host, Brandon Dempsey.
Hey, worship teams, what's up? Brandon Dempsey here, Worship Team Training and also Worship Team Training University. How are you guys? Great to see you. And it's been a wild week so far. But it's a great Tuesday, and man, we're so glad that you guys are here. What's up, Virtue Speaks and DJS? What's going on, you guys? Periscope, Facebook Live, what's going on? Glad to have you guys back. So glad, so grateful that you're here. If you guys would, you know the drill. Go ahead and swipe and invite. Get your friends, your worship leaders, your teams, your churches, everybody. Get them together because, man, we're going to be talking about age on the stage. That's pretty scary for a lot of folks, but hey, we're not here to scare, we're here to dare. How about that? We have Becky Tollison right here in the hot seat. She's about ready to go and ready for you, and we are glad that you guys are here ready to go. We have a lot to talk about, so let's get this stuff going, shall we? So glad that you're here. My name is Brandon Dempsey. I'm a follower of Jesus and a CEO, the CEO of worshipteamtraining.com and also Worship Team Training University. And what do? Well, that's it. We train worship teams and worship leaders. We do live and interactive training that comes to you, to your church, a Friday and a Saturday, just like the one that's happening in Cincinnati, Ohio, this coming Friday and Saturday. So please do that. All you need to do is go to our website, worshipteamtraining.com/workshops. And hey, if you don't see a workshop that's in your town, why not sign up for one today? It would be perfect for you. Also, we do mentoring. If you're a worship leader in need of that extra nudge to help crystallize your vision, move you down the road, you can check out worshipteamtraining.com/mentoring. And last but not least, our university program, in which this girl right here is also a member of, wttu.co. You can get on-demand training videos. We have over 800 article content pieces, as well as things like called the Daily Train, special interviews. Webinars are unlimited, like Sally Morgenthaler tomorrow. You don't want to miss that. If you sign up for WTTU, you get all these webinars unlimited for free. So Sally Morgenthaler is tomorrow at 12 p.m. Central, and we're going to be talking about worship leader. Do you need a job? That's exactly what Sally's going to be bringing. You don't want to miss that. If you're on the search right now for a church, you're praying for the next move, Sally is your lady, and you want to get this webinar tomorrow. Don't miss it. Also coming up, Dan Adler will be with us on Thursday for just members only. That's our special training on Thursday. We have things like this going on all the time. Plus our Monday morning Bible studies on Worship Team Training University. That's live with me every Monday morning at 8 a.m. Central. You don't want to miss that. Special thanks to all of our new members coming in to WTTU, by the way. Thank you guys so much. And if you're trying us out for the first time on a trial basis, welcome, and so glad that you're here. I also want to say a big shout out and praise and thanks to all of our podcast listeners on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Let's jump in. We have a lot to talk about already. People are firing up on Periscope about, hey, this topic about age draws me. Okay. I want to find out why. Before we get into all of those topics, let's introduce our guest. Becky Tollison comes from Boiling Springs at New Life Springs Church, and she's here with us today. Becky, how are you?
Hey, Brandon, I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's so great to have you back. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's so great to be back. I've really enjoyed watching these weekly shows with you and your guest speakers, and I'm just glad to be here. So,
well, thank you. That's awfully kind of you. And so we're talking about age and everything. Before we get into that, tell us about you, your upbringing. Do you lead worship? All that good stuff.
Okay. Well, starting out when I was very small. My parents did not come from a Christian family, so to speak. My parents ended up getting saved when I was very small, probably 3-4 years old. So we were in South Carolina here, kind of by ourselves. We didn't have other family around, really no kind of support system. So we were just kind of drifting in the wind from church to church, trying to figure out what we need to be doing. So I've visited so many different types of churches in my Christian life with my parents. We kind of did that together. And I actually started leading worship probably, I guess, in a leadership role about 1.5 years ago. I have been on the worship team for about 8 years now in total. So it's been an experience here in South Carolina. Still just me, mom, dad, brother, and of course I have my own family now. So we're all 2 kids, husband, been married for 19 years in a couple of months. So
awesome! Congratulations.
Thank you. I do feel I feel like it's an accomplishment in this day and age.
That is true. It's very rare. My wife and I have been married for 18 years. And so, I mean, you don't hear about things like that anymore. So tell us, what were you doing before you led worship? You said you've been leading worship for 1.5 years. What were you doing before that?
Primarily just singing. I was vocals, and I did a lot of backup vocals. I was actually introduced into being on the worship team about 8 years ago. A church that we were attending at that time was just looking for some people to kind of fill in. It was like a startup church, like it was a church plant here in Bowling Springs. And so that was really where I got my feet wet with doing that. And it's something I had always desired to do, something I always felt called to do. But, up until 8 or 9 years ago, there was never an opportunity for me. So I watched the Lord open those doors. And it seems like every step has been a stepping stone to where we are now. So I can see, the hand of God in every move, every position, every twist and turn to leading us to this point. So
awesome. Well, glad to have you. And we're going to be talking about that. We got some great friends coming in. B. Williams, what's up, brother? It's been so long on Periscope. Yes, great to see you, and great friends on Facebook Live. Thank you guys so much. So let's talk about this. Does age on the stage matter? I mean, really, when you think about it, it's as if, you have what? The Voice has been on for years on TV, right? You have American Idol is now resurrected and back on ABC, I think. And you have all these talent-driven shows, new artists coming out all the time. Do you think, Becky, that worship teams and leaders, we don't mean to, but we compare ourselves to what's out there, maybe in pop culture or what we see on social or whatever?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just part of that age-old lie that the devil tries to tell us, that we have to be like everyone else, that in order to be right or doing the right thing or kind of in that right template or cookie cutter idea, that we need to be doing this. And I think that's true in every area of our lives. But I certainly do that as a worship leader. Unfortunately, the Lord's dealing with me on that. He's helping me, but that is something that I have to really be intentional about not doing.
Right. Well, some people say that they need to be like what they see on social. They need to be like what they've seen on YouTube. They need to be what they've seen at a conference. But when it comes to their church, they can't make that jump, and maybe that's not the right jump for them. What do you say about you and your church?
I feel like I co-lead with another person as worship leader, so I'm co-worship leader, and together, my co-worship leader and I are able to we go out and we watch a lot of videos. We watch a lot of streaming live worship services. We listen to a lot of different songs and styles and techniques. And some of them are very powerful. And I feel like the Lord really kind of maybe just gives us some ideas. It's not like I feel like we're trying to copy someone necessarily as much as it is. The Lord was so powerful in this moment. Maybe if we insert this type of thing in our service or our song, maybe, perhaps that we can get that same kind of powerful moment. But ultimately just letting the Lord lead on that.
Okay. So hold up. So you said maybe we can have that same moment. So can you duplicate a moment from somewhere else that you see?
I don't think he can duplicate an exact moment, but I feel like the Holy Spirit can work wherever he wants to. Okay.
Well said. So why is it then that we watch what other worship teams do? I mean, like, to be inspired is great, but can you still take that same cookie mold and put it in your church?
It doesn't always fit.
No.
It doesn't always fit. I mean, some churches, we have a local church here. It's a very, very large church, many campuses, thousands upon thousands of people, and they have a very cookie cutter style. I actually had tried out with them to be a part of their team, and it just wasn't for me because it was very, even though when they're on stage it looks a certain way, when I was being a part of that, it was very robotic.
Yeah.
I don't know. It wasn't for me.
So you didn't fit their mold.
No, I did not.
What was that like? I mean, did you feel like ashamed of yourself that you didn't fit that mold? Did you feel opposite, that you felt more free, that you're not like that? I mean, what was going on?
There was a moment at first when I was felt a little disillusioned by it, and I thought maybe it was something wrong with me. But I think the Lord quickly was able to show me, you know what, that's just not for you. This is not where I want you right now, and I want you to do what I want you to do, not what the cookie cutter world says.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
So guys, come on, chime in. Facebook Live and Periscope. We know you got questions. That's what that comment box window is for. So type in. If you're listening to the playback on audio, do the same thing. Find a comment box window and type in it your questions. Have you been through that before? Have you struggled with that? Let me ask you, Becky, what does the age of your church look like?
The age of our church is going to be mostly 30s. Honestly, we have our big demographic is families in their 30s with kids. We have our church is very old and was kind of given a facelift a few years back. Okay. So it was a church that was established 75 years ago in Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Wow.
A fire destroyed the building. They were able to, from the insurance money, they were able to purchase land in Bowling Springs. So that's kind of, they wanted to go somewhere where that was growing, that had a lot of families, that was, they wanted to reach. So they decided to move from Spartanburg to Bowling Springs. So we've still got a majority of the people from that 75-year-old church that come in, and they have a worship service and kind of tailored towards them. So we have two services, even though we're not a big church. We do it so that both groups can kind of have worship and be free in how they worship the Lord. Because honestly, for our elderly congregants, I mean, it hurts their ears to hear the drums. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
my wife said, they just need to turn the hearing aids down. That's the issue.
There you go.
You turn them down, there's no problem, right?
But we still, we as a worship team in our current service, we still love to do worship with that group and that crowd, and they're such a big part of our church, and they're just solid. Their roots are deep, and I love them. So our demographics are, our current service is mostly 30-somethings with kids, and we have some singles, but right around that age frame. And then our traditional service has the older group.
So do you go to the elderly service?
I don't go every single Sunday, but I do attend some, and we sing with the worship leader there. Just kind of, they love the harmonies, and I love the harmonies. I mean, it's just good stuff.
So does age on the stage matter?
In the first service, we have a wide variety of age on the stage, and it does not matter. Okay,
so let's camp on that for a second. You have a wide variety of age, but yet your church demographic that you worship with, they're made up of 30-something. So what's the oldest person on your worship team and the youngest person?
Okay. So probably,
let's get this going.
I hope I don't get this wrong, but I would say probably the oldest leader is probably late 50s, maybe mid 50s.
DJS, talking to you. Just said because they feel like they're the anomaly. Okay. Yeah. So, and I get that. I totally get that. So who's the youngest person?
So we have just added an electric guitarist, and he is 20.
20. All right. So can you be led in worship by a 70-year-old?
Yes.
Okay.
For our first service. Now, honestly, she's never led worship with us in our second service. But she primarily covers the traditional service, and she leads us in worship when we were with her.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Awesome. Now, what about like a 16-year-old? Can you be led in worship by a 16-year-old? What's that like for you? Is it harder? Is it more difficult or what?
I think there's a lot of things to consider. I'm not going to just, if there's a 16-year-old in our group that says, hey, I can do this, I want to do this, when can I do this? I'm going to have some caution and say, you know what, I would love for you to join us in practice. Yeah. Come in here and see what it looks like, see what you got, see what your skills are, where you can enhance what's already going on, or just add to it and flow with us and see how it goes. Mm-hmm. And honestly, God doesn't call the equipped, but he equips the called. So I feel like if there is a 16-year-old that is feeling that call, then, they can definitely have their spot if that's what's meant to be, if that's what the Lord wills. Yeah. So,
okay, cool. So,
and I'm open to that.
All right, awesome. All right, so think back. I don't know how long this may be for you or how fast it may be for you to think back a few years when you first started leading worship, or let's say when you just joined a worship team at a younger age. What was that like for you? Did you feel inferior by the, number one, older team members in the worship team, and then number two, older members within worship? What was that like for you?
I did feel inferior for a good while.
Why was that? Why did you feel inferior?
Well, it was just something very new for me. I wasn't raised really in a respect to being on stage and being around other musicians. I mean, this is pretty new for me. It's not been something, I've always been musically inclined. I've always, played keyboard, but as far as being a part of something like that, I was very introverted to start with. So it's really taken time for me to be comfortable with myself and, just the mistakes. And honestly, I feel like the Lord, if the Lord lets us make mistakes on stage in front of people, to keep us humble, then I should be the most humble person in the world.
Do you think that's what holds most people back, is mistakes?
That is what held me back.
Okay.
I was afraid of looking like an idiot. I was afraid of messing up. I was afraid of what people were going to be saying. And I really, within the last few years, have just gotten to the point where it's almost laughable. I mean, I have made some pretty significant mistakes, but, my church loves me. I love my church, and, they take it in stride, and they're very gracious. And here we are. And I feel like now we have kind of blown past that barrier, and we're able just to worship, and it's great.
That's as you're talking, I'm having memories right now of when I first started out leading worship, and I had the pianist staring across from me, looking at me, and then asking me during rehearsal, "What chords are you playing?" And I'm like, that was like, wow. And I felt so like you. I felt very introverted. I felt like, wow, these older guys know a lot more than me. So what turned for you? Who was the person that helped get you out of that experience and to grow you?
This is ironic.
Okay.
Considering the topic today.
Okay.
But the worship leader for the traditional service, who was the oldest in the group, I remember after totally blowing a song one Sunday, I was just mortified. I wanted to leave and never come back to church. Like I wanted to crawl into a hole. And she told me, she said, "Becky, I have been doing this for so long that I just laugh at myself. It doesn't matter anymore. Nobody, it's fine." Yeah. And it kind of really jolted me back to reality. Everybody's world doesn't revolve around me and how many mistakes I make. So
that's right.
So it really helped me to just dig past it and say, you know what, we might have screwed that up last week, but it's okay because, today's a new day. Next Sunday is a new Sunday. And, we'll be a little more free with ourselves. And in doing that, I felt like, and kind of being able to get past that mentality, I felt like it opened up the door for God to move even more. Like he was, like we weren't restricting the Holy Spirit as much when we were trying to do everything in such a way that made it feel cookie cutter.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. So do you think people can be too old or too young to lead worship? What's your thought on that?
I really don't. I don't think so. I think, that's a tough question. That's, there's really no black and white on that one. I think it has to do with individual. I think it has to do with who God has called to do what. Mm-hmm. I feel like, if everybody is on, we as a worship team have to be open. It can't be just me that's open to the idea. It has to be, the team needs to be on board with it. And everybody kind of needs to have that same sense of community. Mm-hmm. about it. And as far as bringing people in that are meant to be there, mm-hmm. and we're not going to turn anyone away based on what they look like or their age or their ethnicity or whatever. We're not going to turn anybody away. If you end up not being on the worship team, it's simply going to be because it just wasn't the right fit.
Well, I'm sorry that I didn't pass your audition. I don't know what happened, but I'll try not to make so many mistakes. So
we do actually. We try to offer. I've had this happen several instances where we would love for you to just come in on our once a month long practices and just jam with us, cool. and kind of have that little bit of trying to bring in new people, young and old, that will eventually be prepared to do that, to be on stage. So.
That's awesome. That's great because that's one way. What about some other ways? I mean, I think it's beautiful that you've had this worship leader, this elderly woman that you spoke of, and how she led you. That's just awesome that you can still be in the same place and she's right there with you. So she's kind of mentoring you. So what are you doing to pass on that wisdom and knowledge to others?
Really, we try to, not only with just our worship team, but other people in our church and other areas of our church that we're involved in, just being able to take someone that you see that is going through something similar and just pass on that same wisdom and just show the love. And, it's my son, for instance. We did a talent show at our church a couple of years ago. It was kind of an annual thing. And, he was singing. He was doing a Tell the World by Lecrae. He and I did it together. I was Andy Mineo. He was Lecrae. So it was great. We were boss. But, he messed some stuff up. And so, like, to this day, he's like, oh, I hate that song now. I don't like it. I did terrible. I'm never getting on stage again. I'm like, Justin, we raised the roof. It was great,
That's so fun.
just kind of, I think a lot of that does have to do with age. Sometimes you just get to a point in your life where, you get too old to worry about stuff like that. I mean, I'm not old, but I'm not a spring chicken either.
Yeah. I think that much of the time when we do lead worship, you're right. We're so concerned about what other people may think. And that does have to do with, it can be both old and young. In my experience, I found that it just doesn't matter because honestly, the people who are worshiping with you, they don't care. I really believe that. I really believe that the very fear that we all have out there about leading worship, other people don't care about it. You may think that you're afraid of messing up, like what you're saying, or you're younger or you're older. But honestly, everybody else in their mind, they're not thinking the same thoughts that you are. They don't care. So does that help you to get past some of those barriers, or what other ways have helped you to overcome those fears?
Okay, so a couple of other ways. Number one is going to be prepared. Be prepared. So, I've known one or two people in my life that can go in on a Sunday morning and really wing it and look like they've practiced for hours and hours on end. I don't think that's the norm though. I think being prepared is one of my biggest ways. So I know on, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the things that I need to be looking at, the things I need to be doing, the things I need to be getting together, things I need to be practicing, singing, playing, so that I can feel comfortable enough in my worship with those elements to truly worship God and not to be glued to my iPad or staring at the floor or whatever, so I can just kind of have that freedom to worship. Another way I would think, for me personally, that has helped is really getting to know the people in our congregation, our church. I mean, they're my family. I've been there for 6 years. And before, when I first started going to church there and I was singing there, that is when my biggest fears were present. But as the years have gone by and I have gotten to know, all of our congregants, much, much better, old, young, in the middle, from kids all the way to teenagers, all the way to, the 70s and 80s. And I love them. And I honestly feel like, I feel the love in return. And that makes it easy for me because I can have a great time of worship sitting in a circle with 3 or 4 people just singing and praising God, during Bible study or something. But I also feel like that when I'm on stage with this church because I know everybody. Awesome. It's like we're still sitting around in that circle and the worship and the praise is just going up and you hear the voices. And when I hear them, it just energizes me. And when they sing, it's just, I don't know, the Lord inhabits the praise of his people. And I feel like that's just what we do.
Awesome. I love that. So worship is not regulated to the age, but for the ageless.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And the gospel is timeless. It's ageless. Mm-hmm. And Christ and the Spirit, all of that knows no bounds, knows no time. So.
That's awesome. Well, Becky, thank you so much for sharing your heart and just being so transparent with us and letting us know what's going on in your church and how your fears and how you've overcome that. That's a great story that's encouraging for all of us. So thank you very much for that. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here, and I really appreciate it. It helps a lot. Thank you. And guys, also, can you tell us real quick about what you've been learning in our university program? Absolutely. I have. I've really enjoyed going through the content. I'm actually the premium level. Yeah. The member. Transform level. So I have. Yep. So I have the all the videos and the training videos and the articles, the daily grind, the daily train. I said the daily burn. It's not the daily burn. It's the daily train. Daily burn is something else. So yeah. So I've really, really enjoyed those just short
quick videos that really focus on a particular point in the service or in your style of worship or how you do things. Tips. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a worship leader that was trained in a university somewhere, and I'm not a worship leader who was necessarily even grandfathered in. I'm just a brand new baby worship leader. So there's a lot of things that I don't know, a lot of things that that just have been really helpful in the content that I received from the Daily Train, as well as the articles. And it's been a great resource.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. The kind words. Guys, let's give it up for Becky Tullis being here with us. Becky, thanks so much again for your time today and being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. And guys, we encourage you to do the same, to check out wttu-co. That is our web address for our university online. Look, this is built by worship leaders for worship leaders of every denomination, of every age, of every background. Just like what Rebecca said, you don't need to go to a professional school or have a degree first to get into our university program. It is designed to meet you right where you're at. We have all different levels, all different entry points for all different calibers of skill and for heart. So check it out, wttu.co, and you'll find, if you go to wttu.co/enroll, that is our page that you can sign up, and that's ENROLL, wttu.co/enroll. And when you do that, you will get awesome webinars like tomorrow. Sally Morgenthaler, worship leader, do you need a job? We're going to be talking about that at 12 p.m. Central. And also this coming Thursday at 11 a.m. Central is Dan Adler, awesome guitarist, worship leader, is going to be with us to share his knowledge about keeping the stage young. That's a question mark. Should we be doing that or not? Depends. Find out more. Also, you can check out more shows and events coming up on the calendar. We got Aaron Ivey back from Austin Stone Worship. He's going to be doing a Brown Bag special with us later at the end of this month, so you don't want to miss that. And many more things. So guys, thanks so much for being with us again today. We love you. We appreciate you. Hey, if you love us this much, would you please like and share this Facebook and Periscope broadcast? And if you're listening by audio playback, iTunes and iHeartRadio, would you give us, humbly I ask, a 5-star rating? Even better, would you share it with a friend? Thanks so much. We love you guys. Have an awesome day, and we'll see you back very, very soon. Bye.
This has been a Worship Team Training broadcast and digital production with your host and training director, Brandon Dempsey. Worship Team Training provides live workshops and online resources to help inspire, create, and transform the leading of worship. We'll see you again right here on worshipteamtraining.com.